what is like something somebody could do mid conversation if they're in like a conversation that's not going well to kind of, I don't want to say put somebody in their place, but like kind of, say something or be direct with a short statement that could kind of make them like kind of stop in their tracks and either stop acting that way or change the way they're speaking to you.
Yeah, I think again, and you're going to see the pattern, Doug. You have to start internally first, right? So going into the conversation, one of the mistakes that people have is that they have expectations that are unrealistically high. So if I'm going into a room and I'm playing with a dog, I'm not expecting the dog to be able to bust out a calculator and do math. That's just not what dogs do. So if I'm going into a conversation, I'm not expecting the person to just take it perfectly well. I'm not expecting them to respond. That's just not what people do. Most likely they're going to get defensive. Most likely they are not well trained in conversations and they're probably going to say something disrespectful. That's what humans do, right? So when I see that, I don't get offended or mad. I just say this is what a person would do under these circumstances. And then if the person is well skilled, and the person is pushing back, I say to myself, this person is doing exactly what they should be doing in advocating for themselves. So for me, when I have that mentality where I expect it and I can almost respect it depending on how they handle it, now it's not a threat. Now I'm in a mental state where I can stay calm and still set my boundary because I've anticipated the amount of fire that is coming my way, right? So I think that's the first thing, because in order to deliver that statement effectively, you have to be in a place of peace and calmness and stability so you can actually perform at a high level. And when that happens, the framework that I use, and I'm sure we're going to get into this later, is compassionate curiosity. And one thing that people often ask is like, okay, well, that works in a kind of empathetic relationship conversation. How does it work in like a tough, hardcore business negotiation? And when you think about my clients, the Fortune 500 clients that I have, they're negotiating deals like, and one deal, like one of the deal teams I was working with, they said that their deals, when they come in, they start at $100 million, right? Between 100 million and 2 billion is their spread, right? I teach them all compassionate curiosity because you can turn up the dial of assertiveness and intensity as necessary. So steps are acknowledge and validate emotions, get curious with compassion, and use joint problem solving, and then you flow through those. So I can still use this same approach, but still be pretty assertive with it, right? So they make a point, they say a thing, and I might say, hey, Doug, I understand what you're driving for, and it makes sense given your position. The challenge I'm having is that I've mentioned before, what you said doesn't work for me. And so I'm confused as to how we can continue going forward when you keep on driving in a direction where I've made it very, very clear we cannot go. And I just let them sit with that question, right? Because it is compassionate curiosity. I acknowledged and validated where they were coming from, and then I hit them with a question, but I didn't sound like soft while I did it. It's the same framework, but you can dial up and down the intensity as necessary.
How does your framework differ when it comes to like business and like romantic relationships? Because they're two totally different like dynamics.
Yeah. Well, Doug, I mean, this might shock you, but when my wife says, Kwame, you sound like a lawyer, it's not a compliment. It's like I work all, I work all this time to get this education, and now it's an insult, right? And so I want to be clear. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to be able to essentially culturally code switch as necessary, because it's going to sound, the way that I apply it is going to sound different to different people. So you have to slow down the pace. You have to be a little bit more warm and empathetic, lean more into the emotional validation, a bit more on the romantic personal side. And then on the business side, you can be a lot more, you can still be empathetic and use emotional language, but then at the same time, you have to be able to read the other person and recognize when the other person isn't feeling it. Because the other person might say something to the effect of, listen, Kwame, I don't want to get into any of like this emotional stuff you're trying to get into. Let's just stick to the business. And what I'd say is, hey, so correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like for you, you just want to focus on the facts and the numbers and just get down to it. Is that right? Okay, cool. Well, considering that question, that's compassionate curiosity. I just made it cold. I just made the validation cold. I'm not going to validate your emotions. I'm going to validate your perspective and what it is that you said. It's the same thing. So I think you have to test it and see how people are rolling with it. And one little mantra that I've kept in my mind, especially in these interpersonal relationships, is I know that when I start to get excited or emotional or something like that, my voice elevates and then I start to talk faster. So it's loud and fast. And so I say, okay, low and slow. That's my mantra. So I'll slow it down. So it doesn't come off as like yelling or aggressive. That's on the more personal side. But again, it's like a matter of degree, just playing around with that intensity and warmth.
I know we're both into fitness, and we talked a lot about doing like the internal work first to help prepare you for conversations with other people. What are some habits that you do personally that have helped you build like rock solid confidence so that when you show up in difficult conversations, it just becomes more natural?
Yes, it's a great question, man. I think honestly, the going to the gym frequently has been so helpful for me when it comes to managing my emotions. I can get rid of some aggression and stress and frustration in a very productive way in the gym. My family and my team, they can tell on the days that I didn't go to the gym. It's like, oh, easy there. That happens, but one of the things that's really fascinating is the growing body of research on the nexus between physical performance and cognitive performance. I started to go to the gym more consistently when I was getting ready for the my first TED talk, my only TED talks, and yeah, one of one. And so it was I was training to get in better shape so it would look good. It was just purely aesthetic. But the thing that was really fascinating to me was the fact that it helped me more as a businessman and a family man. I recognized I had much more energy throughout the day. I realized that I was thinking a lot clearer. I was a lot sharper. And then after a long work day, and it sounds counterintuitive because now I'm getting up earlier to go to the gym and working out with intensity. At the end of the day, in the evening, I have more energy for my family. There's more of me to operate at a high level for work and home. So for me, when it comes to emotion management is challenging for anybody, but it has become easier for me because I get to process so much in the gym. It lowers your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. It increases mental acuity and clarity. It's just been incredibly beneficial. And then one of the other things that's been helpful for me as with the gym is I like one of Kobe Bryant's sayings. He said, "When you're obsessed with your craft, the world becomes your library." And the things that I am obsessed with are not just people know me for the difficult conversations, but it's just performance, high performance in everything. I want to be the best husband I can be. I want to be the best father I can be. I want to be the best leader I can be, and the best person I can be. And there's so many lessons you can take from the gym that apply to so many aspects of life. You can leave the gym learning something new about yourself every single day.
Do you think that there's a correlation between being like strong and being able to have a certain type of presence when in a room with somebody?
That honestly, man, it's been shocking. It has been shocking. Like the way that people respond to you when you have that kind of presence, it's significant to the point where I've actually started to like look at the research. So there are a couple of things. When you think about the halo effect, this is where you see something about somebody and then that's positive, and then you essentially inappropriately extrapolate positive things about them. Here's an example. You remember when a few like 10 years ago or whatever, when Tiger Woods got in trouble, people were like, "What? Tiger? But he's such a good golfer." Those things aren't connected, Doug. Like your fidelity, whether or not you're good at golf or fidelity, those aren't connected. But you say, okay, well, there's something positive. I assume it's going to be positive about other things, right? So when you see somebody who's fit, you can automatically see discipline and intentionality, and the halo effect will cause the other person to extrapolate that to other things. So is this person going to show up on time? Yeah, look at them. Of course, they're hardworking. Are they going to get the stuff done? Yeah. If they run into adversity, are they going to be able to push through it? Yeah, clearly they are. Are they going to be consistent? Yeah, clearly they are. And I remember after one keynote, the guy said, "Yeah, I can tell that you lift, and it leads you to have more of a stronger presence on stage." And so, what's been very interesting, especially from a persuasive perspective, is that I recognize that it has led persuasion to be a lot easier for me. I think there's a connection between the halo effect, like I talked about, but just the fact that we're social primates. We're constantly sizing each other up, and when you see power and strength in somebody else, it leads people to be a little bit more compliant as well. So what's interesting is that as I've delved deeper into my craft of persuasion, as my status has increased and my like physical presence has increased, I've had to work less to persuade.
So other than like fitness and working out, what are a few other daily things that you do that help you maintain confidence and self-respect?
I I'm working on being more authentic and just being and not giving like the right answer. This is what the thought leaders say. I'm going to tell you the truth, man. I play video games like every day. I play I play video games every day. It's like one of those little things that I keep for myself. And it's, 20, 30 minutes on Xbox. It's really, really, and it's a place where I can kind of almost for a moment regress for a little bit and just like veg out, and nobody's judging me. I'm just playing online and just having fun. Nothing matters. And it's again, I because I am a constant moonlight as a philosopher, I'm just realizing, oh, there are a lot of things that I've learned from that too. With video games, it can be very emotional. And so I use it as emotion management practice. If something happens, I cannot react. So I practice my stoicism as I do it. And I realize that as I get calmer while I'm playing the video games, the performance gets better. I wouldn't classify myself as a gamer, as an intense gamer, but wins and losses matter. I try, but it's been fascinating to see how being calmer while playing video games has made emotion management in other aspects of my life significantly better. So yeah, just for me, 20 or 30 minutes of video games is great because I get the boys down by 8. Whitney and I hang out at 8:30. From 8 to 8:30, man, I turn into a 12-year-old. Just go to the basement and play.